Hi, I'm Nicole Parks, and this is my case study presentation for AEP 855. My case summary and facts are these. Richard Enman, an assistant principal for Rocket Junior High School, is facing an ethical dilemma. Two students are expected to be expelled from school for possessing a weapon. However, only one of those students is completely to blame, in my opinion. James admits to forcibly giving the weapon to another more vulnerable student named David to hold for him. James honestly admitted it was his weapon and that he bullied the other student into taking it. However, a school police officer has arrested both students for felony possession of a weapon. How can the principal advocate for James? The legal and ethical issues are these. David and James were both minors in possession of a prohibited weapon on school grounds, which is a felony offense. No one was physically harmed by the action of this incident, thankfully. As of now, Mr. Inman is breaching school policy by not fulfilling directives to administer paperwork for the expulsion of David. David and his family may suffer the consequential ramifications of this incident. If the principal follows through with policy, David will not be able to stay in school and on track with his future goals he's worked so hard for. He will be placed at the DAEP for 45 days. To synthesize the facts of the case, I listed the people involved, all people involved in the case study. David, who is the 13-year-old student in the honors program. He is a band member and he's of slightly built. James, 15-year-old student, muscular, tattooed, a leader among his peers, does have a past truancy report and a history of fighting. It was stated that he was on a better track, making a stronger relationship with his principal, and he was becoming a better leader among his peers. Richard Inman is our first-year assistant principal. The school police officer was the one who arrested David and James and was adhering to protocol. James's mother was also involved in the story. The director of secondary education is Richard's director. He was involved in this case as well, and David's parents had played a part. The main setting of our story is at Rocket Junior High School, which is a large school of 900 students. The program mentioned was the Disciplinary Alternative Education Program. Options and possible consequences in this case study are these. Number 1, adhere completely to the policy in place and expel both James and David for felony possession of a weapon. Both boys would attend 45 days at the DAEP. Option number 2, seek further consultation with committee of stakeholders while providing student history, background knowledge, witness and personal statements, etc. Propose amendments to the policy and advocate for change. Number 3, ignore policy completely. David stays in school. Allow for official reprimand to be filed with personnel. Yes, suffer the consequences of the same fate occurring in future incidents. Number 4, wait it out. Backlash from parents will ensue. Local news stations, social media, community members, legal officials will exasperate the incident, causing possible further ramifications. Number 5, adhere to policy. Nothing official happens to the principal. However, from lack of his moral pursuit, bonds of trust and respect amongst fellow colleagues, parents, administration, and other stakeholders is weakened as a result. As I evaluated the options, I tried to match them with my slide previous, so you can match those up in case you need to reference that. Number 1, by evaluating the first option, you can adhere completely to policy where both boys spend the 45 days in DAEP, and it is likely to traumatize David's esteem, not to mention his permanent record. It will cause hardship to the family, and the principal's integrity is in question. Number 2, by advocating for policy amendments and exceptions to be made based on students' right to fundamental fairness, one is likely to endure trial and debate that is sure to be challenging. This is, however, the morally and ethically best option for all involved. Number 3, by ignoring policy completely and taking your own stand as a principal, you are ignoring the team of stakeholders that rely on your leadership. You would be lacking as a role of model ethical behavior in personal conduct and relationships. I continue to evaluate the options. Number 4, by waiting it out without properly handling the situation, others would be allowed the time to inform opinions based on rumor alone. Without legitimate information, ill-informed reactions may arise, potentially creating even more problems. The 5th option, if the principal chose to adhere to policy alone, the personnel file would remain clean and in good standing. However, one's conscience would not reciprocate. With a lack of moral initiative, it is likely that fellow stakeholders and colleagues, along with oneself, would be lacking in the values of trust and integrity. So the best option, number 2. Educators have a moral obligation to protect and advocate for all students. In order to treat David with the fundamental fairness he deserves, the principal needs to prepare himself. He needs to prove that David is worth the hard work of revisiting policy. He needs to demonstrate the capacity to evaluate the ethical dimensions of issues, analyze decisions in terms of established ethical frameworks, or communicate about and advocate for ethical and legal decisions. The principal can't do this alone. He must consult and collaborate with colleagues and district leaders. He needs to converse with the police officer that handled the case. Facts and histories, backgrounds, and personal statements need to be presented in order to put action into motion. This principal will prove to be a candidate that will use their understanding and capacity to undertake and implement this work within a school setting. Along with preparation and determination to advocate for David, stamina and heart will make all the difference here. Implementing the decision. The path chosen needs to be carefully and collaboratively pursued. The principal and his team of supportive stakeholders will need to present their unified vision to district representatives as factually as possible. This united vision should be focused on David and all students that David represents. Bullied victims and hardworking students in the district can receive the policy amendment considerations they deserve. Even though David will need to take responsibility for his part, his voice needs to be heard. He can take a vocal stance for himself. Doing this will likely cultivate ethical behavior in others. By taking his own stand and advocating for change, along with administrative support, he can make a difference for himself and future students alike. Thank you.